This is Two Wit, a podcast for women in tech doing life. I'm Kristi Campbell.
Whoop, whoop. And I'm Melinda Smith. Hi.
So May is the month that I can officially file for separation. So we're just going to ease into the Campbell. It's not like legal, but we're still okay with it. Most of my life I was a Campbell, so we're okay with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you kind of owned it before, so you can kind of take back the rights easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Sure. Yep. I don't get any soup royalties, but I'm a Campbell. So we have an amazing guest today, and so we don't have enough time to talk about things, but I want to give a shout out to M.E. Davis from the lovely state of Georgia for her LinkedIn comment about adulting versus humaning. And it's such an interesting thing that we've been thinking about now that we're going to talk about it next time so we can actually talk about it.
Yeah, our guest, we spent over an hour chatting with, so I want to get right into that. And humaning versus adulting is an awesome topic. So let's save more time for it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's how I talk now.
So who's our guest, Melinda?
And talk about girl wash your face.
I might have already tweeted it accidentally, so...
Okay, I'm so excited. It's Selina Suarez, and she is my girl crush because I love her so much for various reasons. Her big fat brain, her amazing heart, and need to give back to the community. And she is a New York girl, and I have a special affinity for that personality, as you know, because they just, I don't know. Those people, I just feel like I understand me.
But she's doing such great things in the community, and it was great to talk to her. And I'm excited for you all to scroll back, pause, follow her on the Twitter if you're not already, Selina Suarez, and then read some of her recent tweets, which have been really deep. Like sometimes Twitter is like what I had for lunch today, but this is real, and it inspired us to follow up with her and be like, let's talk about this.
Yes, read the tweets, and here, without further delay, is Selina, my friend. Selina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Hello, lovely.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm so glad I get to see your face.
So it's so funny because you were on my panel at Witness Success talking about your life, and yet still I feel like recently your tweets have like shown me a whole new side of you, and like all these adorable siblings you have, and like other things about your life. So can you kind of tell us like what made you start talking about that, and like just about your journey in general, I guess, for those who haven't been?
I mean, it's so funny that you bring up those two things because they're sort of related in a way, but Witness Success ended up being one of the best Salesforce events I've ever attended. I wasn't really expecting that because I wasn't sure what to expect. Not saying that I didn't think it was going to be a great event. I just wasn't sure. I was like, oh, it's another women in tech thing. There's lots of women in tech things that go on. And I just wasn't sure if it was going to be any different than the 5 million events we go to every year, right?
Totally.
This one was really, really special. I feel like I really, really connected with a lot of people, including you, Kristi, Davina, Melinda, you know I love you, Melinda. And I got a chance to really bond with you guys in ways that I've never done at any other kind of event. And I don't know if it's because Witness Success like gave us that open platform to really bond. And the things that we were talking about was real shit that we don't talk about in any other place. Maybe we don't feel like we have the platform for it because we went deep, like talking about our children and our families and how that felt in the workforce, because I think that's something that I always struggle with. I constantly feel guilty. I'm like, I have my kids and I'm working all the damn time, and I hope, they grow up to understand that I'm doing this for them. And, like we all face those things, but there's still a lot of guilt that comes with it because we're not the traditional mom that's just home taking care of the kids all the time, right? We're out and about and doing stuff.
Right.
So that was, I definitely felt way more of a connection to the other women during that event. It's one of my favorite events. Really looking forward to the next one that's coming up this year. We'll definitely be there. Now,
I'm not crying or anything.
In July.
Yes. July 28th and 29th.
I'll definitely be there. It's very close to the nonprofit sprint, so I'll be at that too. So anybody who's
Yep.
I'll be there. I recently I have started to tweet more personal things. It's really not like me. I'm very, very, very private about my personal life. But, we started this thing, Pep Up Tech, that really is the light and the love of our entire community. And when I first came up with the idea for Pep Up Tech, I was like, I want to go back and help communities and do all this great stuff. And it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to give back to my community. And it ended up turning into this thing that, like, I've gotten so much from it. And it makes me feel like I need to say more and do more and connect more. And I feel like all you guys kind of feel the same way, because so many of you guys have reached out from Kristi, getting us sponsorships for different events, and Melinda mentoring one of our students and being on a project with one of our students who.
Well, and meeting them, and then now following them on Twitter, and then seeing them getting great jobs.
That's freaking awesome. Like, you meet them
it's amazing.
Yeah, but aren't they super inspiring? Like, I hear their stories, and I just want them to know, like, you have a place here, and we all carry our own different kind of baggage throughout our lives, and we want them to relate to us as well, right? So it's not just about tell us your stories and let us help you, right? Like, we should tell our stories too and let them connect to us in a different way. So I have started to do that. And I'm glad you noticed. I did a couple tweets, not that many. It's probably like 3 in total, where I revealed things that are super personal that I never really say in public ever. And it's gotten a very positive response from our community. And I'm glad there are people reaching out like, I have the same story. People I would have never expected are like, me too. I grew up in this kind of crazy environment and somebody helped me. And I love that, because I think that all of us need to feel empowered to do that more. And sometimes, to put your personal stuff out there, it feels super revealing, and you feel really, really vulnerable. And it's the main reason why I don't like to do it. Like, I don't like people knowing personal things about me, because it feels a little embarrassing, right? And I feel exposed. And so to try to overcome that and just say, hey, you're doing this for the greater good because you want people to connect to you. You want to hear their stories, because when you tell your story, people feel empowered to tell you theirs. And then you can connect on a more human level, right? Like, we get to know each other deeper, and we can help each other more because we know more things about each other.
Ooh, that's a great segue later to my super fave. Keep that in mind, of people who reach out because something you say or something you do resonates with them. But
the tweet that got me the most was the one that you talked about, your friend. That was like, why would I leave the hood? I'm golden. I've got what I need here. Like, what was your overall response? Because I was digging through your timeline for like a tweet thread. I was like, I need to know more. I need to know more. Like, how did you end that conversation with her?
She was my best friend. Like, I mean, like, I loved her so much. Her mother just died recently, and her mom was the kind of woman that would let like all these homeless kids like come live with her, and I was one of them, right? Like, when I was very young, I ended up like not having a place to live, and I went from house to house, and I would carry all my belongings in like a supermarket shopping bag. Like, I probably owned like 3 pairs of pants and 3 shirts, and that was it. Like, and that was all my belongings. And I would just go to like whoever's house would let me stay there. And her mom was like, you guys can all come stay here. But her mom was a drug addict, right? Like, she did heroin at the time. And so she reached out to the community, and she helped all the children by doing this thing. But I don't know if it was the example that she set for her daughter. I mean, I don't want to, go, because I want to honor her memory, but her daughter ended up on a path very similar, in that she did drugs and whatever. The whole point of that post was just that you grew up in these environments where like you glorify, as a young child, like there are certain situations in the hood that are glorified. Like, I don't have to pay. It's very weird. It's like the cycle of poverty is crazy, because it's like, I live in the projects, my rent, I don't have any rent. And I don't have to pay electricity, because if you live in the projects, you don't have to pay like for gas and electricity and all that stuff. So young children, right? Young children, like low-income housing, right? Young children will see that, and the perception is just that we have it made, right? Because you don't really know you're poor, right? You're living in a poor area. You don't really know that you're poor. You know you're poor, but you don't really know the extent, right? Until you're older, right? And you're out there, you're like, damn, we were poor. But you don't realize it when you're young. So the point of that post is just like, there are these ideas out there that like, this is acceptable, and it's not acceptable, right? We should want more, and we should want to get out. And I don't know why. I mean, I still think about it sometimes today. Like, I have no idea why I felt as a child that I deserved better than what I had. I don't know where it came from. Like I constantly try to rack my brain and I say to myself, like, why did I think I was any different from anybody else? Because all of my friends were like, we're happy to be in the hood. We're never leaving here, whatever. And I was more like, I'm getting the hell out of here. These people are crazy. Like, I don't know why they want to stay here. I want to find my way out. And I was pushing myself to do that. But she was just like, no, I don't want to leave. And she stayed there, and her outcome was very different from mine.
So it's a big leap, and you don't have to go into it, or I can cut it out. From homelessness to, I guess having a career and an education. You have an MBA. Besides your best friend's mom, was there other people that really helped you finally have some footing and have maybe more things than a grocery bag full of your own belongings?
That helped me was my teacher. So I moved. I just got out of foster care. We were in and out of foster care a lot. So the last time I got out of foster care, because like when you're in foster care, usually before you turn 10 years old, and I think now it's something like age 7. It's easier to place you with a family when you're like 7 and below. Back then, it was like if you were less than 10 years old, chances are you could be placed with a family rather than be put into a group home type environment, like a facility. So the very last time my family ended up in foster care, like my mom had disappeared for a couple days, and someone called ACS and said, "Oh, these kids are home alone." And I had went out. It's just crazy. Like I went out to go, like, we didn't have anything to eat. So I went to the store because I would like go and like try to shoplift things like food and bring it back home. It's just crazy. Like maybe you do have to edit this out, but I would like go steal like cookies or whatever and bring them home. But when I ended up coming back, there were cops at the house. So I hid. I was 8 years old. And so my brothers and sisters went away to foster care, and I ended up staying with this church family. And eventually the agency found me out and they put me in foster care. But I was separated from my siblings because at the time there were 8 of us. And so because they all went in at the same time, they were placed like 3 and 3 and 3 or whatever it was. And I was placed by myself in some other agency. And then the mother who was taking care of 2 of my sisters took me in. And then my mother cleaned herself up. My mother was on drugs at the time, which is why we ended up in foster care. She cleaned herself up and got us back. And then we were with her for a couple of years, and then she started abusing alcoholism. So that's how I ended up being homeless again. But for those couple of years, she got us back and we moved to Coney Island. So when I lived in Coney Island, we lived in this project building that was a really bad building, like a lot of violence and crazy shit going on in that building. But the one good thing was that we were zoned to a school that was a school for the performing arts. It was called PS90 in Brooklyn, New York. And it was a school for the performing arts. It was highly ranked, even though it was a public school, right? And our one project building, our projects had like multiple buildings, but our one building is anytime you drive into Coney Island, you'll see the parachute jump in the Wonder Wheel. You see this big pink building. That's the building we lived in. That one building was zoned to this good school. And even though I was in and out of foster care for a lot of years, I was a very good student and I loved school. So I moved around a lot, but every school I went to, I excelled in. So this school was no different. I did really well. And I got there, I was in the 4th grade, and I met this teacher named Miss Taub. She was this Jewish woman. And the school that I went to, it recruited a lot of Jewish students and then students from our neighborhood. So it's pretty diverse in that we had people from different backgrounds and different racial backgrounds and different religions, which is great because my teacher really taught us tolerance. Like I knew about Jewish holidays and culture and like, dreidels for Christmas, dreidels and Christmas and the difference between Hanukkah and Christmas. And for us, we were children. So there was a high level of acceptance of different types of people. We took all the holidays, but it also started exposing me to different people, not just the people that I grew up with in my neighborhood, which was super beneficial to me, right? I wasn't just growing up with people like me. I was in an integrated kind of environment at that point. And so we had a very strong music program. And the music program that we had this really colorful teacher named Miss Pizzetta who taught all of these inner city kids how to play musical instruments. And she was like a jack of all trades. She played the violin, then she played the piano, and then she'd get the flute out, and she played all these instruments. So she taught me how to play the violin, and she taught me the basics of playing the piano. And we were like in Glee Club. And then my teacher was like, "You're one of the top students. I want you to apply to this gifted and talented school." And she said something to me like, "I don't care what you do on February 22nd at 7 a.m. You better show up at this school." And I was like, all right, because my mom was like, whatever. She didn't know what the hell was going on. So I went to the school and I did a talent test because you had to have the grades to take the test. And then you go, and I did like a media arts and photography. I was a fine artist, so I was doing like some art project. And then what ended up happening is I got into that school. And when I got into that school, like my world changed because I had Miss Taub, my teacher. She was my teacher for 2 years, and then I started at this gifted and talented school in Brooklyn. I only lasted there 1 year because I ended back up in foster care, and I ended up going to a group home. But that 1 year really was transformative to me because I got to be around different students. It was a magnet type program, so students from all over the state. It was a very rigorous, academically rigorous program. All of those kids tracked up to the top schools in New York City. And so that set the foundation for my education. And even though I ended back up in a group home, and then I ended up dropping out in 11th grade, and I had a kid when I was a teenager, all these crazy things continued to happen, but the foundation was already there, right? So I always knew I would go to college. And so when I ended up applying to college and I got into school, it was a whole nother trail of me doing all types of things to elevate myself, but education was core. So I had a lot of setbacks. It took me a long time, a very long time to graduate from college. I started college when I was 19 years old. I got my bachelor's degree when I was 26. So it took me a lot of years. And then I took 2 years off to study for my GMAT. And then I went and I got my master's degree when I was 30. But I just kept going at it. So the only thing is I had a lot of setbacks during the entire scale of me trying to get to school and graduate. But I always kind of knew that if I was able to get my education, then nobody could really take that away from me. I knew I was smart and I knew I had the potential to succeed. I did. I just knew it. I always felt in my heart that I didn't belong where I came from. I always felt that. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get the hell out of here. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I knew that I wasn't meant to be there forever. But I'm also, as an adult, I'm in my 30s now. I'm so happy that things happened the way they did, because I feel like the level of empathy that I have in my heart for other people and the way that I go out and help people and the heart behind Pep Up Tech and all the other things that I do come from the fact that I grew up this way and I know what it was to be Selina. I can't be the only Selina that had high potential and was placed into these circumstances, but not everybody has the will to push out of those things, and everybody needs somebody. Like, I was lucky I had Miss Taub that was like, I don't care what you're doing on February 22nd at 7 a.m. You better go to that school. Sometimes that's all you need, right? Somebody that believes in you and it's like, you need to do this thing because you deserve it. And we need to all think about that and be that for other people, because you can make a huge difference in somebody's life. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you had to mentor them for 10 years. Miss Taub was only in my life for 2 years. I recently reconnected with her and told her all the fabulous things I'm doing, and she was very happy to hear those things. But she was in my life for a blip. But that blip was like all I really needed. And so think about that. I encourage people to think about that when you're interacting with folks, because you never know if you could be that light and motivation for someone else.
So your mentors in life, I like that you said that, it can happen a small blip, because one of my mentors, I didn't really work with her very long, but out of all of my crazy job experiences and everywhere I've been, she's still my mentor. And, like you said, it was 3 years, maybe 2, 3. But you're right. I mean, every way you can be someone's light. And when you were talking earlier about how much Pep Up Tech is like your heart and soul, you hear this all the time, but I think until you do it, you don't really get it, that how much you actually get from giving back and how much you actually fill your heart and your soul. And not to turn it around and make it like a selfish act, but it's amazing how fulfilled you feel doing something for someone else. Like working with the student for Pep Up Tech was amazing. And the nonprofit I was with, it's in LA. Like, it's amazing.
I 100% agree with you, because it gives you purpose. Like, you feel like your life is filled with purpose. It does. It's meaningful.
Well, and I think it's interesting because even that's a big gesture kind of thing, right? Like, that's an initiative you're proactively taking. But I think what I hear too is like that little blip, right? That smaller gesture that can have a bigger impact, right? So when you're meeting people at events, or you're working in a user group, right? Or Salesforce Saturday, whatever it might be, you might be doing something that's easy for you, but it's huge for someone else, right? So whether that's, Salesforce related, or it's just in general, like an inspirational kind of piece, you may not realize by taking the time to, talk to that person, the positive impact that you're having.
Yeah, and it goes back to the question that you just said about the Twitter. I think Twitter, because what is it, 180 characters? Or I don't even know how many characters.
I feel like I got more characters somehow, and I don't know how that happened. I'm not questioning it.
Sometimes I'm reading Paula Ashfar's post, and I'm like, how does he get so many characters? Is he paying for like an I write stuff that's like out of characters and like it cuts me off, and I'm like, what?
How does he not use emojis to get his point across?
They increased the limit.
But whatever that limit is, I think that some of the things I think about when I'm telling these little personal things on Twitter, the reason why I feel a little bit safer is because it's literally like 2 sentences, right? You have to be really succinct and to the point and say 2 sentences about something that matters. And I could be really long-winded, I think. So I think it's been helpful to me to do these quick little things that is sharing a piece of myself to the community without giving up too much and feeling exposed in a few sentences.
Well, but I do think it's also easy to, with social media, right? There's so, like, you just get in the scroll, like I'm gesturing with my thumb, like anyone else can see me, right? But I stopped and I was like, wait, what? Like I had to reread it a little bit, especially with a picture with all your siblings, right? Like, it's just interesting because I think it's a really interesting example of how you can quote unquote know somebody or have met somebody and that there's still things about them, even me and Melinda, right? There's still things you don't know. And it's especially in this day and age where we make kind of snap judgments sometimes about people. It's interesting to, read those details, but I'm also happy that you felt that you could share those things in a, quote unquote safe place and hopefully have gotten positive feedback from them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the oldest of 12 children. We have the same mom. We grew up in the same house. And that's right.
Wait. So when you were So when you were hiding, when you were 8, and there was 8 of you that were placed, your mom got clean and came back, and it was like, you know what? I'm gonna have some more.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome though. Do you guys do like big family get-togethers, or is it hard?
No, when you raise that many children in poverty under the circumstances that we were raised in, there's a lot of drama, right? That's not easy. I have two little kids that live at home, and we have 2 older ones, but we have 2 little ones, and Jose and I are like, how the heck does anybody manage more than 1 or 2 kids? Like, it's crazy. It's a lot of work. So
well, I assume that when you get older, like, you take care of each other too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we try. There's a lot of us, and there's a lot of complexity there, right? There's a lot of different stories. I mean, it's 12 individual,
and over a span of not all at the same time, right? So different experiences, even within your experience, right?
Oh, I mean, we're back to back. I'm the oldest.
Stop it.
I'm the oldest, and so I'm 39 years old. My next sister is 2 years younger, and then there's a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 all the way down. And my youngest sister is 23 years old. So there's 12 kids. It's like they're back to back for sure. We all have the same mom. So it's like there's a lot of stories back there. And more interesting too is 10 are females. We have 10 girls and 2 boys.
Wow.
We're a dozen. 2 boys. I mean, can you imagine 10 sisters? Like it's a lot.
I have 1. We picture this, everyone lives together and they have a happy sharing clothes lifestyle, but maybe not, right?
It's true. I mean, we were really poor. We grew up in a really poor area. So we had to share resources, things that we did not have. We wore each other's clothes, not because we were happily sharing, because this is what we had, right?
Right.
We had to share meals because we didn't have enough food to feed the whole family all the time. Summers were really hard when we were out of school and we had to rely on free lunch and things like that. Like we were very, very, very poor family. So it was very hard to be in a household with that many children. And then, I mean, there's also the pressure of being the oldest, like somebody like me who's a high achiever who wants to, everybody to succeed. We got to all go to school. Like I could be like the annoying older sister that just needs to shut the hell up when like my younger sisters just want to chill and party,
Right.
So like there's that too, like being the oldest child, regardless of how many siblings, I think it puts responsibility on you because you feel like you have to take care of your brothers and sisters. And because my mom like dealt with alcoholism and that sort of thing, I felt more of a motherly instinct over them, right? Even from the time I was very, very young. Like the funny thing, I got to, when I went to foster care, that when I told you I was hiding in the county, I got to see the police report that they wrote about me and some of the things that the people said about me. And there was this whole story written about how there used to be this, and it's, I can't remember what it's defined, but there is I don't know if we call it like a designation that they say about people that's like, if you're a child who acts like an adult, it's the thing. It's like called this thing, right? Like you're a child who has lived under a certain set of circumstances and has achieved like certain levels of maturity. And they had this whole thing written about me, how I was like a little mom and how I was going to great lengths to protect my mother, like by not telling them things, and that I had this motherly instinct over my siblings, to the point where like if the sibling was crying, I'd go over and change their diaper and pick them up and feed them. I was 8, like 8 years old, and my instinct was if my sibling was crying to go feed them, give them a bottle, change them. Like that's not normal, right? That's not what an 8-year-old.
I'm trying to think, like when I was 8, that's what, like second grade, you know, like what was I even doing?
Yeah.
Not
But like you said, like your circumstances, there you don't know any differently. So the baby's crying.
I was
the baby.
I was a bat in Cinderella. I don't even know if there are bats, but they needed more positions for the second graders.
But it goes back to your point, Kristi. Like people might say, well, you know, there were 12 kids and it was happily ever after. And we lived in a big house and there was these things. But for us, it was like, there was like survival, right? Trying to survive all the time. And me to always protect them. I still feel that way. I still worry about them. I'm still always calling them and figuring out who's doing what and who needs what to get everybody on track to do the right thing, because I know the challenges that they're faced. But, you know, anybody who has younger siblings can understand what I'm saying. Like you feel that ownership over them, particularly if you have parents that are struggling and you know that you have to step up. So there was a lot of pressure and I think a lot of stress when I was a child to just.
Do they achieve too? Like, were a lot of them motivated like you were to
I mean, not to
do
the
more?
same extent, but 5 of my siblings have gone to college, you know, in different ways, not to the same level. Like the difference between me and them is that they spent a lot more time in poverty and the circumstances that they did. When I was 13, I ended up back in a group home because I ran away from home because I just couldn't take that kind of environment. So my life changed when I went into the group home and I had like different circumstances, but they remained in that same community that we grew up for many more years than I did. So their outcomes were a little bit different just based on like, I was just out there trying to do all kinds of things, but they have, I mean, they're okay, you know, like they're all alive. I mean, they're all taking care of their families and things like that. And a couple of them have been to college, like I said, and working and they're trying, but you know, it's hard to overcome those kinds of upbringings, and a lot of people don't.
Well, and so how does that translate to what you're doing now at Salesforce, right? Because I think, to me, right, like I think of people who work at Salesforce, and most of my engagement is with AEs and SEs, right? But I feel like you're doing such a great program and making changes and doing great things with a K-12 program, right? So kind of tell us how when you made the move to Salesforce, like how did that play out for you? That seems like the perfect place for you to be.
Right. I think your job was perfect.
Real quick. I want to address that I feel like my comment was kind of a dick comment and I didn't mean it that way. I made a joke about your mom getting clean and having more kids. And I feel like I just want to address that I didn't mean that in a dickish way.
I definitely didn't say it that way at all.
Okay. It was like, oh my gosh.
I didn't take it that way. Like, you know.
Okay.
You're adorable.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't take it that way. Like, you know, my mom, we make jokes about that all the time. I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? You know, like you went more, you fucking crazy. Like, but she did, you know? I mean, I would also say like my mom dealt with all that stuff, but the one thing that I can, and I used to be really angry at her for a long time because I was a kid. I'm like, why do I have this mom and this craziness that's going on? And I'm super stressed out because I spent a lot of years as a kid being really stressed out. You can imagine like growing up in poverty and all the things that I'm explaining to you, it's very, very hard for a young child. You know, moving around all the time, constantly in and out of foster care, like that stuff is super, super stressful. And I think I went through a lot of time, like when I was just in a shell. I didn't even talk until I started, like I started to get really chatty when I was getting closer to high school. Like I was mute. I wouldn't say freaking words at all. You could not get me to speak. I was very, very quiet, which is surprising because you just can't shut me up now. But like when I was a kid, I did not speak at all because of the stress that I used to have and like just not wanting to say the wrong thing and all of those kinds of things. So, I mean, there's a lot of that as well, you know. I think the theme here, and I think what people relate to is just like the perseverance. Like I think it's like my I think I'm meant to tell this story and do these things. And going back to Kristi's story, like I got this job at Salesforce, right? And I started Pep Up Tech before I went to go work at Salesforce. The job at Salesforce is I'm senior product manager, so my job is to create the product roadmap and what we need to support K-12 schools to create equality in education. Like Salesforce has made a big investment to K-12 education. And I read this article that someone sent to me right before this call, and I'm going to tweet about it later, so look out for it. But it's a New York Times article that talks about how teachers across the U.S. who teach in public school environments are suffering. Like one art teacher who's like soaking markers to make watercolor paint out of it because of the lack of resources in some schools. Like this is the world we live in. Like there's excess, and then there's like just people who don't have, and we got to do better, right about that sort of thing, because everybody deserves opportunity for an equal education. Right? People should not, we're supposed to be a country that's based on those kind of values. It shouldn't be that because, I grew up in Mississippi rather than, I grew up in some part of Florida, that I should have less opportunities than the next person. And so Salesforce really has made that investment. And so a big part of why I'm there is the work, but also the mission. I mean, you guys don't know, you all work in the ecosystem. There's a reason why we've been drinking this Kool-Aid for as long as we have and why we do so, right? There's some real purpose to the work that we do. I think all of us could feel that, right? Like, I feel like, right?
Oh, 100%. I get text messages from people that hardly know what I do. It was like, hey, I just saw someone on 60 Minutes. I think that's what you do. That guy's really cool. And I was like, yeah, that's Uncle Mark. He's pretty awesome.
Uncle Mark.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I totally agree. But I was going to ask you, did they approach you? Did you approach them? Like, I see what you're doing and, I want to get involved, or they see what you were doing, or like, how did that happen?
Before going to Salesforce, I had worked for 8 years in higher ed. I've always been an education advocate because I just feel, even before I ever got involved with Salesforce, like I'm all about educating people because I know the difference that it made in my life. Like I don't live.
You got the shirt on now, baby. You're doing it.
All I wear is Salesforce clothes. Like probably you can't see that out in our Salesforce gear right now.
Same. I mean, or like abs. I have like a Cirrus hoodie, or like yeah.
Some partner stuff, yeah, for sure. I rock my Salesforce stuff proudly, for sure. Yeah. So I was at the time I had worked for 8 years in higher ed, and then I moved over to the K-12 side where I was working with an organization that was started by the wife of Andrew Tisch, who part owners of the New York Giants, New York Lowe's hotels and theaters. But they also started a program in New York City to help low-income children go to and through college. They started like this awesome college prep program in New York City. They had 3,000 alumni. I had just gotten my MBA, so I had studied some MIS systems. They were looking for somebody to help them manage data, which is how I eventually got synced up to Salesforce in the first place. I built an application for them that allowed them to track students to and through college. So this technology, it helped them to fundraise and bring more money into the organization, as well as be able to take a look at their outcomes and know what was working and what wasn't working, and where could they make improvements and where did they need to make additional resource or financial investments. I built that all on Salesforce. And so I spent 8 years just working on the Salesforce platform.
Like self-taught?
Self-taught. This is before Trailhead.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, so I literally met someone at an event tonight that's worked in Salesforce for 2 whole weeks. Mm-hmm. And it's so weird to think about, like, yeah, I did this. I got certified before there was Chatter. Like, yeah, like there was no Trailhead. Like, what are you talking about with your resources?
Released. When it was like, we had Salesforce 1 release was like a whole big deal. So, I mean, you're probably longer in the ecosystem than me, but I think I entered the ecosystem right in 2010. It was the first time I heard about Salesforce. And the reason why I heard about it is because they were trying to solve a really clear, defined problem. And so I said, okay, what are the things that we need? What do we need to track? How do we do it? My experience in higher ed, we had built a homegrown data system. So I knew that a database was the solution. I just didn't know what it would cost to develop it, because when I worked in higher ed, we built that system in-house, because in a higher ed institution, you have developers and tech staff and all kinds of people to do the work. And so when I was on the K-12 side, they had less of a budget to do it. And I started doing research about like what different databases were out there. And we hired a firm who built us an entire database on Zoho. And then after about like 2 weeks, after about like the first 2 weeks of using Zoho, I was like, I can't run a damn report. I can't add a field. I can't filter. I have to call this developer to do things every time I needed to. And I said, and I remembered Salesforce because I had downloaded a trial, like right at the beginning of the project. I said, I'm going to download another trial. I rebuilt all the requirements in Salesforce. So here's how I did it. I got Premier support. So we bought Salesforce and got Premier support. So Premier support was key. And I like literally harassed that poor customer support.
And got access to all the resources and stuff.
Yeah, so that's how I learned. Universal containers, right? You remember universal containers?
Universal containers.
Yeah. AW computing. Come on, I'm gonna get start with AW computing because, like, seriously, that was pre-Trailhead. But like, I learned everything that I knew about Salesforce from the AW computing and the Universal computers recordings that were pre-Trailhead. And so I did downloaded the Force.com workbook where you built that HR app from start to finish, right?
I loved that workbook so much.
That's what I learned. That's how I learned. I had that workbook and like I got it at like World Tour. They were giving them out for free. I went to World
Tour.
Oh, the physical book?
Yes.
Yes. I walked into a training session and who was teaching the hands-on course? Mary Scotton. And I was
Stop it.
Scotton taught me my very first like hands-on course on building an app from like start to finish. She teaches you how like to build.
You have the button.
Get out of town.
You have the big button that maybe did that make it to Lightning? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean that's how I learned, and then like Googling stuff. So like I was following like Steve Moe and like David Liu and all these celebrities that were like on the success community. Well, it's not success community anymore. Trailblazer community. So that's how I learned, like asking questions, Google, and all of the resources. So I'm really excited about Trailhead now, because we're able to do so much more with onboarding people and having a structured environment where we can say, do these 5 things and then do these things. And here's how you do it, right? It's like a lot easier to follow. So, but for all of us who are like from back in the days, it's AW Universal Containers.
So here's a funny story. I think I've told it before, but who cares? I'm a repeat storyteller. To know me is to love me, and that's what I do. Occasionally I'll ask Josh, I'm like, hey, do you want to come to San Francisco for Dreamforce? Like, don't come the whole week. I got shit to do, but like towards the end. And we always think it like sounds like a good idea, but he knows how tired I come home. And he was like, you're a drag.
Yeah.
But he's like, I asked him last time, I'm like, how about maybe you come out like the last day and we'll spend the weekend? And he says, my requirement to go. I was like, I don't remember.
Hang out with Kristi? Is that the requirement?
Obviously. He wants a shirt that says CEO of Universal Containers.
Oh, yes.
But wait, do you sell them anymore?
Twitter account, right? Like Universal Containers.
Huh? Oh my God, it's so funny. Yes. It is hilarious. They don't tweet often, but when they do, it's gold.
Did that, but it was genius.
Yeah, he's like, I know that I don't totally get it. He said, but everyone else does, and it will make me very, very popular. I was like, well, yeah, because it's hysterical.
Oh my gosh, I love Josh so much right now.
Yes, that's the only way he'll go to Dreamforce with me.
Come with me to Dreamforce, but then I feel bad because I'm like, we have zero time at Dreamforce. I'm like, why don't you come the last day and we go to Hawaii, right? It's close, right?
Oh, look. Oh, here I am like, let's go to Sonoma. And you're like, let's go to Hawaii.
I'm already on the edge. Let's just go.
It's like, I know you're not going to have no time for me. Every time I call, he's like, I can't even get a phone call from you during Dreamforce, like, let alone.
And with time zones, like, it's hard and there's parties. I don't even know.
And it's so much.
Yeah, I forget to call my child at times because Dreamforce.
So Pep Up Tech has just become like such a phenomenon, which is great. I got to work with Rebe with Southeast Dreamin'. I love that you all are targeting the Dreamin' events and the official Salesforce piece because, like, you got the connections up in there and it's great. But so that's kind of your niche, right? Is like the education piece. But how do you encourage people to get involved either with that or just with their community?
That's like the easy part, right? Because when I had the original idea for Pep Up Tech, the community was already rocking. Like, our community is kick ass. Like, you know that. Like, they're doing 100%. That shit anyway. They don't need Selina to come and say, come volunteer your time. They're already doing that. So when I come to the table and I'm like, hey, can you guys help us? Like, we have these students. They come from these different kind of backgrounds. They could really benefit from you. People are like, heck yeah. And they dive right into it. So I don't need to convince anybody. This is stuff that they've been doing way before I came into the ecosystem. So that's what makes it so powerful. When I originally came up with the concept of Pep Up Tech, I was like, the way that this is going to work is to tap our ecosystem. We have an incredible army of volunteers and people who this is just what they do. From the user group leaders to user group attendees, like this is a lifestyle. It's a culture. It's what people do. That's that whole Hana. I don't influence that. That was there way before I came along. So it's just me tapping into it and saying, hey guys, you guys are already doing this amazing stuff. Can you help us? And people are like so willing to do so. But yeah, I didn't invent that.
I have 2 questions. One, I know it's people empowering people through technology. How did you come up with that? And I want you to know that I have lamented on this a lot because I've tried to get into your brain and figure out why you named it that. And that's, I've spent a lot of hours instead of just asking.
So the original name, we were trying to come up with a name, and we were looking at Steam Force because we were like, we want to science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Yeah. So the original name of the company was Steam Force. And when we started to do, and it's still our parent company. So Steam Force is still the name of the company. Pep Up Tech is a DBA.
Interesting.
So that works for my next question. Please continue.
Business as Pep Up Tech. That's our DBA. But the reason why we changed it is because we didn't want to infringe on the copyright of Salesforce because they own the force.com. And so we didn't infringe on that and then run into any troubles because we didn't know what was going to happen with Pep Up Tech. If it was going to grow, it was going to be great. If it was going to be misaligned with Salesforce. So we just wanted to make sure it was clear that like we embrace Salesforce as our platform of choice, but we're not a company of Salesforce. So that's why we changed the name to Pep Up Tech. The Pep Up Tech name came from Rebe. Rebe named the company Pep Up Tech. We did a brainstorm. Yeah, Rebe De La Paz. So we did a brainstorming session to come up with a new name because we didn't want to infringe on the copyright of force.com. And Rebe said that when she was a child, she grew up in a really low-income area, and she attended a program called Pep Up that made her feel really empowered. And it was a great program, and she wanted to take that acronym and turn it into something meaningful. And she came up with the acronym of people empowering people up. And that's where Pep Up Tech came from. Rebe.
Oh, I love that. Do you see, I do love that story, and thank goodness, because I can quit laying awake at night and trying to figure out how that happened. Do you have Pop-Up Tech? Sure, why not? Do you have any vision? It's a leading question. Be prepared. A vision of expanding to other demographics besides kids, meaning
students.
Yes, students. I worked with that nonprofit in LA, and I think about it all the time, and I miss doing something, and she has offered me to start a division of it here. I just don't know if I would do it any justice doing it all by myself. But do you foresee a situation where this could be teaching maybe, women coming out of prison, or teaching people that are trying to turn their life around? They're finally clean and sober, or situations that maybe aren't students.
So I'll tell you about our populations. Yeah. Go ahead, Kristi. I think you wanted.
I was just going to say, this is interesting because on the other hand, I feel like in some ways it's good to have a niche champion for a thing, right? So
I don't disagree.
It's an interesting balance of being all the things versus being this narrow thing that's very focused and efficient. So I'm interested to see what you have to hear, what you have to say.
So niche is great when you're starting out, right? So the other thing is that, I did go to business school, so I do have formal business training, and I studied entrepreneurship in addition to management information systems. And so,
which, let's just say, you said you got your BA when you were 26, and then you went and got your MBA. So you're a fucking boss, is basically what you're saying. Continue.
Pretty much.
What I did is I studied business in undergrad, and then my professor, another mentor, encouraged me to go to business school because I had no plans to go to business school. And then I fought really hard, and that's a whole nother story about how I got into business school. But I ended up going to business school. So I did learn how to start a business and structure a business. And I did start a couple companies before Pep Up Tech. So I kind of knew that in order to make a company successful, you need to start with something and be laser focused on making that successful before you're all over the place. Because then your business model will fall apart, and you really need a testing ground to make sure that things are working. And so our model to go into, and I'll just tell you, we have 2 programs right now. One program targets students, children, ages 4 to 14. And we partner with community-based organizations. So we partner with the summer camp in the Bronx, and our newest partnership is with the elementary school here in Florida where I live. And we help them implement tech. So we give them all the curriculum and everything that they need to help them teach computer science in their school. So this is general, right? Just getting kids interested in building that pipeline.
Sure.
We're focusing on children and people that come from underrepresented backgrounds. And when we say that, we're talking about women, we're talking about low-income people of any race and background, we're talking about minorities, African Americans and Hispanics, LGBTQ. So the gamut of the type of people we target are very diverse. We don't discriminate based on someone's race. So, you don't have to be a person of color to benefit from Pep Up Tech. We accept all types of students into our program. The reason why we started this program with targeting the college students at the 3rd, 4th year and recently graduated is because we want to make sure that we can plug our expertise where it would have the most impact, right? So like if a student is a computer science student or they're studying business and they're in their 3rd or 4th year of college, they're already on that path to career, like pushing them, like they have the bare
Right.
skills that they need. And our timeline for success is 6 months. So we say from the time that you meet us at Pep Up Tech, you do a Pep Up Tech class, within 6 months, our goal is to get you either certified or on the path to certification and employed. And so we've been hitting that target with our students. But the way we've been doing it is that we cultivate a population of students that are ready to do that in that timeline. And the only way you can build a successful business is to get that work done and show and prove it. Right? We're out there in the community and we're saying, hey, look at what we've done. It's successful. We have a model we can build on. Once you do that, and now you have your volunteers and you have the benefit of showing those success stories, then you can branch out on other things. It's like, okay, so what else can we target, right? We have this program that's working. We've proven our model. So how do we take that proof of concept that we've developed and we apply it to other parts of our business that we want to target? And that includes things like, it's funny that you say prison reform because I'm super big on prison reform, and there's an organization in New York City that is wanting to work with us now. So we're in early conversations with them to talk about how can we structure this program for them. But you have to build something that's successful, right? With some criteria on it. Like you can't just say like the old term, boil the ocean. Like I'm not going to do everything. Start with something and get really, really good at it, and then take that model and replicate it. So we want to, serve different populations, but we need to focus on our strength and what we know is going to work, and then take that and apply it in other aspects. So my vision for Pep Up Tech from the very beginning was that we would inspire people like you, like you're saying, I'm working with this nonprofit. I really would like to get them set up. I don't want to do it on my own. Can we tap into your resources? That's really how I envision scaling Pep Up Tech. Like, can we get enough like soldiers out there who are interested in things in their community, and then give them the resources to succeed? Because we already have a proven model. Let's share it. Right. So like maybe the thing that you're interested in is prison reform. Maybe it's like we've had people approach us about Native American populations across the US. What about, moms going back to school? Or what about, elderly people who are transitioning back into the workforce? Or, there's a lot of people focusing on veteran programs like Merivis and VetForce. So there are lots of people who have different focuses. And, my background is in education. So it would make sense that I'm going to focus on the thing that I know. But if we have somebody who maybe your focus is prison reform and you've been working with an organization that does that, you're bringing a level of expertise to the organization that I don't have. But then we can work together to build out and say, okay, you are the expert on prison reform, or you know the person that's the expert on prison reform. Let's work together with them and figure out what the criteria is to invest in these people and help them re-enter the job force. This is all workforce development, right? We want to get people where they are and make them successful. Right. But we need the people who know the thing, right? Like we started with college students, and we started with underrepresented backgrounds because my background is college. I worked for 8 years in a university, right? That's what I know. And then I spent another 8 years in K-12. So I went with what I knew. And so like, as we grow the program, is finding experts that know other things so that we can continue to build that model. We want to do these people that we are working with, we want to do them justice, right? So we want to tap into the right things and be the right thing at the right time for the people that we're serving.
Well, and I think it's interesting because I did a program locally through minorities in tech, through something that some of my Map Anything colleagues at the time had started. And it's interesting because it seems so like obvious or easy, sort of, right? They just teach them people, right? Salesforce, and then get them certified. But there's a lot of shenanigans involved, right? Like in terms of getting content, like I can and not getting derailed myself. Plus getting them certified, like getting someone to pay for it, and all these logistics and things that you can learn from other people who have already tried to do it, right? And like you're setting deadlines and timelines of we expect people to get certified or get jobs within X period of time, and building that whole network, right? It's not as easy as I talk to someone about Salesforce and then suddenly they're interested and they're certified.
Obviously, we all love Salesforce and we evangelize the hell out of it. I've been an evangelist of Salesforce way before I ever worked for Salesforce. I've been talking to and there's a lot of us out there because we believe in the power, we understand it.
Right.
But the one thing that I think we should continue to make clear is like Salesforce adminning is not for everybody. It's hard. It's hard and it requires a real commitment. And it's one of the reasons why we originally targeted students in college, because there is a baseline set of requirements that you need to have to succeed. Right? Like, and the reason why we know this is because when we first started Pep Up Tech boot camps, we were running our programs with random nonprofits and they weren't working out. We weren't hitting that 6-month timeline because the people we were teaching didn't have the baseline skill sets needed to succeed. And I'll tell you what some of those things are. One, you got to know a little bit of Excel. You have to. It's critical. Yes. You cannot work on the Salesforce platform if you don't know a little bit about Excel. And it doesn't mean that you have to be an advanced whiz. You just have to understand how object-oriented programming works based on the object contact account model and like how Excel translates into records in Salesforce. And then you should be able to do something like build a basic chart, maybe run a pivot table, and most importantly, do a VLOOKUP, right? If you can do, right? So it doesn't mean we don't do pivot tables, right? Because Salesforce can handle that stuff for you. But if you understand why and when a pivot table would be needed. System agnostic. So we're not talking about Salesforce, right? If you're using an Excel spreadsheet and you can understand what the use case is for using a pivot table, it will make a lot of sense to you when you're building reports in Salesforce. If you can understand the relationship between rows and contacts and worksheets, like that would totally like set your mind up for success because you'll understand how those objects are built out in a Salesforce database. So what was happening is we were getting classes with students who didn't have a baseline experience in Salesforce. And they also were struggling with other things like you need to be pretty comfortable with a computer, right? You need to know how to set up an email account, how to initiate a dev org, right? How to sign in, like those kinds of things that not all the people we were teaching had those baseline skill sets. And so we just switched our gears and we started just teaching straight up Excel and Outlook and Gmail because you need to know some of those things, right? If you're going to be a system admin, you probably should know how to use some of the basic tech tools like Gmail and GDocs or, Quip, whatever, right? But you got to know a couple things in order to be successful on the platform. And so I think people forget that, right?
I find that very interesting that you start there because I think I've run into that before and I don't know like where to start. Because, well, for example, teaching the women at the Women in Transition program, I had young women that were, I don't know, she was maybe 30, a vet, and she had a history of drug addiction. So she was ready to learn everything. Then I had another woman that was like, how do I get an email? And I didn't know, like, what is the baseline? And you're right, it's email, it's Excel. So, I mean, that's amazing that you were like, I get that. Like, that's where we need to start.
There can be enthusiasm that's misplaced enthusiasm, right? Like, maybe, yes, you want a better job. You want to get into tech. You want to, whatever we said about this program appealed to you. But, asterisk, caveat, you're not going to succeed, right? And that was part of the struggle that I had of within a few weeks, you started to see people drop out because this isn't the right thing. This is not, Salesforce is not building furniture from an IKEA list with pictures. There's not an A to B and then you learn how to do it and you do A to B every day, right? There's a lot of thought process. Yes, I can teach you how to build a field, but should you build a field? Like that I can't teach you. Or I can enlighten you about it, but like there's some logic and reasoning and project management kind of skills that an awareness and a skill set that is part of this that helps, I think, some people become accidental admins that become successful versus some people who are like, yay, Salesforce, but they just don't have the skill set from a strength perspective to succeed. And I think that's important, right? Not all these programs are for everyone, which sucks, but makes sense.
So here's where we go back to the business model. And like when I put my business school hat on, when I was building Pep Up Tech, it's like, how did we did struggle with that in the beginning of building our program. So what we did is we went back and we revised our criteria. So now, like in order to apply for Pep Up Tech, you have to go online and do an application. There's a set of questions that I ask. I don't go out and deny people. Like I look at I review every single application, like everyone. I read every response. And if I have questions, I don't just accept them. I email them and I ask them to qualify. And if I need to call them, I do that. And what I'm trying to get to the bottom of is I want to make sure that they have the skill sets to succeed because I know exactly where my program fits in. Back to niche. I know the niche. I know exactly where to catch a student in time to make them successful. That's what's helped Pep Up Tech grow. I figured that out. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't work with students that don't have the baseline criteria. But if we really want to admit those students into the program, we need to do some pre-work with them. So I make all of the students do pre-work, every single one of them, because I want them all to start at the same level. So I make them review some basic Excel concepts. We give them like some Salesforce videos. So we do all this pre-work just to get you ready for the course. But if we have students that legitimately don't have any of the experience, we can either one of the things that we did with Monroe College in New York is they were interested in creating a pre-boot camp class. So like if you're really interested in helping these women from the prison environments and this is something you want to do, and Pep Up Tech, maybe where we are is a little bit more advanced than where your population is, then I can tell you what those baseline requirements are, teach it to them. You know, you can do an all-day course and teach them or give them some steps that they need to complete so they can be successful. You want to put students in a situation where they can achieve and that they can, exceed expectations. The worst thing is to put somebody in a program that they're destined to fail at because they're just missing the baseline requirements.
Totally. When you and I worked together, so I don't know .org that well. And I was guiding, and I can't remember her name, the student. And I had to ask you for something. And you're like, let's all just jump on a call. And what I love most about it is that you're a boss and that you're no nonsense, because I was like taking the approach of, here, let me show you this. And cause I'm being gentle and I'm helping and I'm teaching you and you're a young little sprite. And you're like, no, you need to redo this. We talked about this. No, this is what we need to do here. You need to get this sheet in order. If you want to get the data in, let's do this together. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's the way you should talk. And really, I wasn't trying to be namby-pamby, but I was just being kind of tender-footed with her. And then you came in and I was like, nope, that's how I need to be. And even now I think of that situation, which was probably 4 minutes out of your day, because now I'm in a role where I have people that report to me. And when there are situations to teach or guide in behavior, I think of that. And I'm like, don't be like, hey, I just really wanted to tell you that it would be better if you did it this way. And like, no, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to be direct. Yeah. So I really love that about you. And I love that you're direct and you get to the point about teaching these kids and like giving them the skills.
New York, like I talk strongly. I am a very sweet person. I do talk a little rough because I'm just.
No, it wasn't rough. And you are sweet. It's just that I was taking this like tender approach with her because she was young. And you just weren't being like, there was no need to be overly gentle. They're students. They're sharp. They're ready to learn.
Smart, like they know more than us. Like these kids.
Hell yeah, they do.
Literally, they're coding in 7 and 8 languages. Like, you know more than me. I graduated from business school in 2009. I'm pretty sure that all the stuff I learned is probably like not even relevant today. So like yesterday, you know more than me. So here, let's take those skills that you have and let's figure out how we can get you to the next level. And yeah, like let them do
Girl, you earned that. Don't make it seem like that's not relevant. You earned it. And you
I
know
studied
things.
tech and business. Those concepts, they expire, right? It's all about refreshing your skills and staying up to date. Like, there are things I learned in business school in '09 that no one's doing these days. Like, the big thing back then was Office 365 and like some of these things where now everybody's like on Quip and everybody's using GDoc. Like times change, and that's okay. Like, these kids, they're smart. They're getting a good education. They're learning right now. They're graduating today. Like, I like for them to feel empowered. I do tell them that, like, you know, you need to take ownership of this. And this goes back to your point, Kristi. I think that there's a lot of like chatter in the Salesforce ecosystem that like anybody can do it. It's so easy, and like it can be, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. The jobs that we do as system admins and developers is not easy. It requires a lot of problem solving and thinking and commitment. And you have to be the type of person that is willing to continue to learn. You got to be curious. You have to be a problem solver. Like, if you're the type of person that thinks you're just going to get your bachelor's degree and that's it, you learned everything you need to learn for the rest of your life, then Salesforce not for you. Salesforce is innovative, curious, bright-minded, strong-willed people that will do anything to get to the answer. Those are the kind of people that succeed in our environment. And I look for that in the application process. And I tell them, so yeah, I don't sit there and like, I'm like, no, you can't. We had this conversation already. Get on Google and do what I told you to do. Like, Google it, right?
Get on Trailhead, figure it out.
Steve Mo wrote, and you're going to be all right.
Well, but the thing is, I was on Trailhead today. I've been doing this ish for 10 years, and I still have things to learn.
Like, that's the thing. Like, you got to be humble, and you got to tell them that. I'm a product manager at Salesforce. I've been doing this a long time. There is not a day that goes by that I don't Google something that I need to learn for my job. It's the nature of the game. Like, no one is a genius at this stuff. There's so much things to learn on the Salesforce platform. No one knows everything. So, like, if you think that you're not,
no one knows everything.
If you don't think you're going to be researching, you're in the wrong field.
Yeah. So if people are listening to this and they're like, "You're the smartest person ever. I want to meet you and stalk you and know you at the core." You're in Florida?
Yes, but there's no but. There's no but to where you live. Wait, I want before we ask.
Oh, she's like, no, stop talking, Kristi. That's the but. Okay, go ahead.
Because I had perfect segue earlier, and now you ruined it.
That's my job.
All right, so no one knows everything. We say that all the time, but you had to have had like the coup de grace, the massive, most biggest Salesforce screw up.
You know, I had so many. Like,
everyone says that.
Pick your favorite.
It goes back to exactly what I said. You're gonna fail like crazy, but those failures are opportunities for you to learn it and do it better the next time. I mean, I had a really big job working in New York City for a huge nonprofit that was national, and I was working on their database, and I was still pretty new. I probably was like a year and a half in. So like there was some things I just didn't know. And I deleted a field and didn't realize that I had to back up the data in that field. And then when I realized everything was gone, I was just like, well, I'm going to get so fired. But then, don't worry about that. We just put that field in there 2 weeks ago. Meanwhile, I was going crazy for like 10 hours trying to recover that data, calling Salesforce to figure out what I got to do. They were like, yeah, like it costs money to get a data back up if you didn't back up your data. Crazy. And so I learned that you need to back up your data, right? Don't delete anything until
you can download 50 zip files every week manually.
Or you can use own backup. Or you can, like just make sure that if you're going to delete a field that there's not like run a couple reports and make sure you don't need anything that or migrate it into a stagnant.
Yeah. You can like read the error message that it gives you and it's like, are you super sure you want to do this, dude?
But I'll be completely honest that like I made a lot of mistakes, but that's how I learned. I learned a lot of mistakes, and I was like, damn it, I just screwed up again. But like it happens. It's gonna happen, and you can't be.
I'm sure you did all those things in a sandbox.
Not all the time.
If only everyone could see my winky face.
Not all the time. I made mistakes.
I mean, it'd be great to tell people there are many ways to learn, and you can learn through Trailhead and through experience, but truly through your fuck ups is when you learn the most. Truly, that is the time, but you don't want to give someone the advice. It's like, go screw shit up. And that's when you're going to learn the most. But that stuff sinks in when you think that you've really screwed up everything.
You just got to own it. and learn from it and move forward. And like we said, if you're not sure about something, do your research.
I am like fangirl, and because I love you personally, very happy that you got to come on the podcast. And I love your pretty face, and we got to get our kids together. And when are you, where are you, what are you going to do? When do we get to see you again? Kristi gave me the face like,
I don't have kids, but I still like you.
I'm going to be in Durham.
Well, you can bring your dog.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but
That's only it is. It's only like 2 hours from me. Where are you going to be there? What's the deal?
I'm going to do like a training in second week of May. But 2 hours far.
Okay.
I'll be in
How long are you going to be there? I mean, that's like no time at all. I can see Amber and Chris and Kelly and not the other Kelly. Who else is there? There's all
Selina.
Sure. I'll go there. New York World Tour, of course. And then I'm going to probably Texas Dreaming. I'll be at Wit Success, Midwest Dreaming.
Yeah. I'm thinking Texas Dreaming too, so we can have a hug fest there.
Yeah, I'm trying to make that one.
Depends on how things line up, because I have some going on, but I'm going to try really hard for that one. And then
I got some babies to visit outside in Houston, so it makes sense. I try and line those things up because I quote unquote need to go, and then maybe I go visit babies.
I mean, they have wonderful brisket. So anytime you can get to Texas and eat brisket, like I'm down. We have that, and I'm Stephanie in Austin, so that's always awesome. And Tony Prophet will be keynoting Texas Dreaming, so I really don't want to miss that. Yeah, so that'll be good.
What?
And then Witness Success and of course Dreamforce, and we'll have some Pep Up Tech students in attendance, so that'll be awesome. I wish you guys were going to New York World Tour. We're doing a fun event there next week.
We talked about doing
April 26th is our fundraiser for Pep Up Tech. It's in support of helping students get to Dreamforce. So we're doing a little event.
Oh,
so
I'll be in Spain.
I love it. We definitely talked about going, but I have a big project deadline. But I want to go to world tours and learn things.
World tours are awesome because they're smaller, and you can meet a lot of people. We will we'll be bringing Pep Up Tech students out to do a networking event there. That'll be a lot of fun. And so you're going to Dream LA?
Yes, I'm speaking.
Yeah, I was going to go to that, and it actually fell on the same day as the World Tour, which is the reason why I didn't plan to go. But I was originally thinking about that. So cool. I can't wait to see the pictures and see how you enjoy it. I think it's going to be an awesome
It's going to be amazing. I'm speaking about becoming from awesome admin to awesome consultant, so that'll be fun. I saw your messages or like your social media about the Pep Up Tech event in New York, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going. Never mind, wrong week. So I had to throttle back my excitement. But thank you.
We're gonna, we're bringing the karaoke back to Dreamforce, so don't worry. We got you covered. Fun event.
Oh man,
I love you. Just plain and simply, I adore you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being raw and vulnerable. And I know it's not always easy for you, but everyone, this, like you said, this community is full of love and graciousness.
You got our attention, so hopefully you get the attention of at least maybe one kid or person, right? That's not sure where they fit in life, and maybe you're the reason. So
we got a bunch of them, and that's great.
Keep doing what you do.
It's not just me; it's all of us, right? Because they appreciate all of us, and look at how they respond to you guys on Twitter. They love you guys, and you guys make a difference to them. It's true. It's that stuff is great. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So I can't even comprehend. First of all, we always have amazing guests on the show, and she was also fucking amazing. But this was real shit. We're talking about authentic, real stuff, how to be a better human, and her amazing story, and she just was raw and real, and obviously I'm a huge fan.
Well, it's interesting because in the scheme of things, you and I both come from somewhat of a similar first world problems kind of background, right? Sure. So I have never considered stealing food to feed my family, right? There's never been a question about whether Kristi will go to college, right? So I appreciate that we are having fun and in a platform where we can support awesome women or allies who have been in such different situations. So it's crazy to me. And it's interesting. I hope that people kind of stop and think about, maybe you met Selina, maybe you've met other people, maybe you think you know people, but there's some history there, right? So I love hearing about.
When her
Yeah, go ahead.
Her huge heart and to give back and to do more for her community. And I love that she says, I always felt that I was destined for more, or I needed something bigger, because I think that there's always this internal monologue, or your soul, or your spirit guide, or your inner child, whatever you want to call it. I think everyone has these times when they either feel like they're meant for something different, they're meant for something more, they don't feel like they fit. Maybe not even necessarily in a bad way, but they just like, wow, this isn't my peer group. And to hear from someone who is so accomplished and doing such big things, it's nice to know that, she felt like that before. And she also felt like, this isn't my bag. Like, I don't belong here. I just want to do more. I mean, she's just such an authentic person. I just feel
So
very
hopefully some
grateful that
people
we got to
listening
talk to
are
her.
coming to Texas Dream In, are coming to maybe going to the New York World Tour. Where else did she say she was going to be?
So
I mean, Dreamforce, obviously, but
she's going to be in Nurse.
Yes! Hopefully you're going to meet Selina. I'm going to drive there. I'm not even kidding. It's not even far enough. I don't even care. Let's go. I can hang out with some of my favorite. Amber Boas is one of my favorite people on the planet. She lives in Durham.
She's bugging.
Okay, so people have heard some wonderful stories, heard our chat.
Yes.
And now they're ready.
Listen to me swear.
They heard her biggest screw up. And then what's next?
It's true. So before we get into the super faves, I want you to know
segue, friend.
that while we were talking to her, no, you're a perfect segue. But I wanted to say that she inspired me. So the last couple weeks, so I ended my 80-day program, which is really like 90. Yeah. So it was amazing. The results are amazing. I'm very proud of myself. But this week has been kind of an ad hoc week. And so will next week, until I'm actually going to do the program again. So because of that, I think you give yourself this leeway. So I felt kind of guilty the last couple of days because I haven't been getting up at 5:30 like I usually do. It's like 6:30. And then it kind of screws up my day because I have to get up, get the kiddo ready, and then shove in a workout. And then maybe I don't get in a shower because I need to get to work or like get started working. But I've been kind of being a slacker, and I've been tired. I've had life and shit. Sure. Who isn't tired? So when she was talking about like, we're just going to get it done. And she's just so inspiring. I literally put in a new alarm on my phone. It's 5:30. That says, be a boss, bitch. Wake the fuck up. Like, get up. You know how to do this kind of thing. So she inspired me to like get back on my schedule. And do I want to get up at 5:30? No. And I haven't been, and giving myself the wiggle room and blah, blah, blah. But I feel better when I stick to my routine and I have everything done before I have to get the kiddo up. So she's my inspiration.
So this is a good somewhat segue to, I have sort of been using my timer that we talked about with the cube.
Time cube's amazing. I have one too
now. I
did
some adulting over maybe not everything I could have, not should have, but could have done. But I did at least limit myself and stop and do some adulting and then go back and read books. So I'm not 100% an adult, but the timer is helping me. Baby steps.
Baby steps. The timer is amazing. I got one too for the house.
It's just easy. Just 5 more minutes, right? And then you flip it and then it goes off and you're like, nope, I got to get up and I got to do some dishes. I got to start a load of laundry. I got to take the recycling out. I got to do the thing.
It's true.
You can do it.
And what is one of your super faves?
I'm appreciative of the fact that I have coworkers who realize that I am busy right now. I'm in the weeds with a deadline. It's a stressful time. And so we went for a quote unquote team building meeting at 4:00 on Friday at the bar. we had margaritas, and it was great. And it was a little bit of time to vent, but it was also just, I'm very thankful. And I don't even know if they listen to me, but shout out to them for being we send each other memes. We
love it. Gifts.
They literally called me into the office for like a 5-minute vent session. You know, like it helps me. I have a coworker that we like alternate freakouts, so we can't both lose our shit on the same day. So, you know, it's just been a really great experience, and I'm thankful for my coworkers and some of them, not all of them, let's be real, but my my work wives, let's say,
yes.
Because it's helpful to be in a meeting and realize like someone's talking and you're like, you are full of it. And someone else says that to you. And then you're like, yes, I'm not alone. Right. So it's really interesting. And of course I'm an oversharer. So sure, there's that level of like work friendship, but you know, it's just been a great, like I say, quote unquote team building with margaritas.
It's good that you're an oversharer, because I'm an oversharer, and I guess that would make for a really terrible podcast if neither of us wanted to share.
Oh, hi! Shit. Can I just tell you not my secrets? What kind of secrets?
And I still have a whole little bag. I got a little grab bag right here of stuffs we could still freaking take out. Let's unpack
the rando bag.
That is a different Oprah. Since we're talking super faves in the vein of gratitude, I had a moment today. So the last couple of days the last few days of weeks have been a little stressful, not in a bad way, but I went from, building this hub program and we're building it. We closed a deal. Yay. We're working it. I think we're going to close some more. But in the meantime, I picked up projects. So now I'm working 3 projects, which is a cry from where I've been, or a far cry, I should say. I've been working 1. So it's a lot. And then in this week also, we have user group stuff. I am part of the panel for the Women's Innovation Network, which is IBM's Women in Tech, essentially. Ooh. So I'm leading and moderating that panel tomorrow, podcast tonight. So I've got a lot going on. So I had this whoosah moment, which I believe is Marines, and I probably shouldn't adopt it since it's not mine, but I was trying to, little meditation, so hum, because the day was very stressful yesterday. And my bestie's mom had died over the weekend. So I dropped everything to go visit her. So I didn't get a lot of things done that I had planned. So I had the potential and the probability yesterday and today to really, really get overwhelmed and lose it. So how I didn't was I installed Evernote, because I keep a lot of notes and they're not syncing in my devices. I made work to-do list, personal to-do list, and I literally shut it all out except for what was important. So I didn't answer Twitter or text or anything. And as I was managing that, it worked out well yesterday. And today, as I was working that out, I just had that great moment of overwhelming gratitude that I get to do what I get to do. I'm going to Spain. Yes, I'm frustrated that I have $3,500 out in expenses to my company that won't get paid before I leave. Cool. I'll manage it. I'm going to manage it.
Sure.
Yeah. Projects, things that I feel like maybe I could do better on. But in that weird whirlwind tornado of stress, I still had this such overwhelming happiness and gratitude to be able to be speaking on something I'm passionate about, to be able to go out of town with my husband and travel like we are. I mean, I'm stressed. It's the furthest we've ever been from our kid for the longest, but it's okay. Then, a plane blew an engine today and we had a whole conversation about that. That's a whole nother thing.
You're going to be great.
It's the longest we've ever been away from our kiddo, which is also going to be fine. But it's kind of funny how I am a multitasker, probably to a detriment at times. But when I know how bad things are, and as far as a to-do list is, I just really honed in and prioritized, which is kind of a huge task and feat for me, because I'm very much I can do it and I can do it all. I just need 7 more screens. I got it. So amongst all of that, it was just this beautiful moment of, wow, I am so grateful that I get to do what I'm doing. I get to delegate and work my own projects and work with amazing people and talk with my partner in crime on our podcast. And I get to go to Spain. Fucking A, I get to go to Spain.
It is funny because this is not my super fave, but I was at an event before I came back to record, and it's great to meet new Salesforce friends, whether they work for Salesforce or just our other admins or in the ecosystem. And it's my conversation pieces. Hi, I'm Kristi. I'm an MVP. Have you heard of Southeast Dreamin'? I do a podcast, right? Like those are it's interesting conversation points to talk to people and to then explain, like, I get to talk to my partner in crime and people want to listen to us and care. So yay.
It's amazing, right?
Gratitude super faves all over the place. And
truly, I had a moment where I was like, maybe I'll get our logo minus the lettering tattooed on my body.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh.
We have to do it together.
That's a commitment.
We gotta do it together.
I've never had a tattoo, but that might be one I would do. I would consider it. Oh man, when I went to college, my mom said, "Pierce whatever you want. Don't get a tattoo." I'm 35, and that's still in my mind. Okay, but speaking of my mom,
well, I also grew up with a stepfather that said, now, given his background, he said, "Don't give them a way to find you."
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Well,
is that why you don't have a custom license plate?
So that's still in your brain. We're going to stop that. Okay, so my next super fave.
Oh yeah, it's all about you.
Was just New York last week. Yeah. So I went and I worked out of our New York office. So I've been to New York a ton, but I've never been in this Nomad area, North Madison. So I picked a hotel that was close. I picked 3, asked some of the girls that I was working with, like, hey, what do you think? And she's like, well, I think I've heard of this one, blah, blah, blah. So I picked one that was a better price that also had a gym because I was at the last week of my 80-day obsession program.
Okay.
And I just needed access to weights. So it was a boutique hotel called the Roger. Shout out to the Roger. You're freaking amazing. And I get there and they have done like amazing things with a small space. This little mezzanine. Excuse me. Mezzanine. Yeah, there you go. Mezzanine. Oh my God.
Mezzanine.
Say it again.
The M level on the elevator.
Mezzanine. Thank you. Yep. So you would think that would be, kind of crappy. There's only like 4 tables, but every breakfast and happy hour and dinner was actually very well done and the food was great. Same with the gym. Very small, but very up to date, very clean, very awesome. So I think the first night or even the next morning, I got a text from the concierge. I'm Ivy. I'm your concierge. Anything you need, let me know. And I said, this is actually an amazing service because, you hate when you have to go to the room and, pick up the phone. Who uses those phones? Like, why do you even have them in a room? So the next day I said, my stay how's your stay? If you mention this, text at happy hour, 15% off your meal. And I said, everything's been really great. There's just a lot more city noises than I'm used to. Could I get some earplugs? I'm not there right now. No problem. I go to my room. There's like a little envelope taped or like stuck in my door with earplugs. And it's such a simple feature, but I'm so, so grateful for it because it felt very personal and much better than, hey, fill out the survey later. Or, as you're passing the front desk to run to a meeting, hey, how's your stay been? I don't have time to talk to you right now. So I really loved the text concierge. And I talked to someone in the city that had said that they're, these boutique hotels are trying to do that more. But I think it's brilliant. It's an amazing thing.
Connections.
So shout out to them.
I love it.
All hotels should do it.
So once upon a time, I don't remember if we talked about it, but I had some pipes burst. I've had some holes in my wall. No big deal. It's me and the dog. No one cares. It's fine. So I just want to give a shout out to my dad and, to be fair, my mom, but mainly my dad.
Papa Campbell.
They came to visit for 9 days and he helped me put a new vanity in. In the end, didn't do wainscoting and did some drywalling, which he doesn't even like because nobody does, but he really got it done. And they were great to have. It's a tough thing when you're in your 30s, right? Like your parents coming to stay with you. It's weird. It's like a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's They drive you nuts a little,
Yeah.
but they're wonderful. And he definitely listened to the podcast on his way here because he's the best. And so it was great to have them here and get to spend some time with them. And now I have a guest bathroom, so now I have no excuse to not get my shit together in my house and invite some people over. And so I'm working on that. And so shout out to Papa Campbell for getting it done and helping his baby girl. Third time's a charm with his youngest child.
I like how you like wrap that in. I always tease my half brothers and sisters that I was the one that was playing.
I'm the quote unquote favorite. I don't make any qualms about it. But I'm the youngest. It's something about the youngest and the youngest girl, both. I get double win. So
double win.
And I'm going on vacation with them to Alaska. So that'll be super fun.
Ooh, that sounds amazing and cold.
But it'll be in the summertime, so it won't be as cold. But I'm excited to see crazy things, icebergs. Who even knows?
A moose.
I hope there's mooses. Yeah.
Mises.
Moose. I think moose is plural, and I'm just an asshole.
Nope, I like Mises better because I said the same thing. All right, so I'm sitting in the closet in my daughter's teeny tiny chair, so I need you to wrap this up.
You know what, Melinda Marie Smith, you're the best. Selina, I don't know what your middle name is, Suarez. Thank you for hanging out with us. Everyone else who listens to this hot mess, stay witty.
This chair's hurting my ass. So bad.